There is a word from God, and I want to share with you briefly, as the Lord has shared with me. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 1 to 8. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. If you have it, say, I have it. You ain't got it. All right, so I want to read for the hearing of God's people. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. And here it is. These are the words Moses spoke to all Israel in the wilderness east of the Jordan, that is, in the Arabah, opposite Sup, between Paran and Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Dizahab. It takes 11 days to go from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by the Mount Seir road. Verse 3. In the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, so in our context, that will be November 1. Moses proclaimed to the Israelites all that the Lord had commanded him concerning them. This was after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon at the Edrei, had defeated Og, king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. Verse 5. East of the Jordan, in the territory of Moab, Moses began to expound this law, saying, the Lord our God said to us at Horeb, you have stayed long enough at this mountain. Break camp and advance into the hill country of the Amorites. Go to all the neighboring people in the Arabah, in the mountains, in the western foothills, in the Negev, and along the coast, along with the cast, to the land of the Canaanites and to Lebanon, as far as the great river, the Euphrates. Verse 8, see, I have given you this land. Go in and take possession of the land the Lord swore he would give to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to their descendants after them. I want to speak briefly, using it as a theme for focus and reflection, moving from this mountain. Moving from this mountain. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, every now and then, we need to move. Moving from this mountain. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your word. Say something, do something, and get all of the glory. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Years ago, the bishop called me a long time ago. He said, Rudy, I want you to go to West Virginia. It's Shepherdstown. I said, Shepherdstown? He said, yeah. Truth be told, I didn't know where Shepherdstown was at the time. And I was living right in Baltimore. And so I said, let me go see the place. I drove up to Shepherdstown. I went to the church by way of Shopsburg, Pastor Tommy, and then I came out by way of 230. You know, you ever been that way? You know, you go like that on the road. I called my wife. I said, we're moving to West Virginia. She said, why? I said, because this place is like the Garden of Eden. The deer have the right of way. Remember, I'm coming from Baltimore City. And all of a sudden, I'm on 230 and deer number 1. And taking its time. And number 2. And number 3. And the whole family was going for dinner somewhere. I said, this place is like Garden of Eden. I said, and then, you know, all that roller coaster we pay for, at the amusement park. You know how you pay a lot of money to get in? I said, it's here for free. You just got to ride on 230. It's like that. But the truth is, it was difficult to make the move. But we moved. Went to Shepherdstown. God did what God was going to do. I was fortunate to meet Pastor Tommy and so many wonderful people. And after 18 years, we had to move. Moved to Baltimore. It's a difficult move. Didn't know we had all the stuff we had. You never know how much you got until it's time to move. You're like, who bought this stuff? How did we get 3 of the same things? You bought it. Then I had to move to Liberia. Never been away from my family since 1990. And then I had to move. Sacrifices, discomfort, transition, changes. But the truth be told, life is about movements. And movement is a sign of life. But what we found in all of our moving is that God was faithful to us every time and in every place. How many people have that experience? Even when you're not sure what the outcome is going to be, God is faithful. Jehovah Shammah is the God who's always present, the God of Ezekiel. Down in the valley of Baca, he's still there. With Daniel in the lion's den, he's still there. He watches over you're going out and you're coming in. I found him to be faithful. So when we're moving and it's difficult and it's uncertain, you know that God is moving with you. The small country church where I grew up said, and he walks with me. And he talks with me. He's right there. And he tells me I am his own. Even in the challenges, he's reassuring me. Movement is part of life. Jesus wanted to assure us that he will be there. He said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. Ecclesiastes 3:1 said there is a time for everything and a season for every purpose under heaven. The Israelites had been in Egypt's land. They were slaves 400 years. One day of slavery is too much. 400 years is a killer. God said it's time to move. And they start moving. And then the enemy is pursuing them. And then the sea is in front of them. Nobody went to the water. They ain't got no swimming lesson. And then Pharaoh is behind them. And every time we get between the rock and the hard place, we panic. They said, why you brought us here to die, Moses? At least we were over there. Every now and then they would give us filet mignon. What it didn't say is that they were slaves. They would eat when they told them to eat. They would sleep when they told them to sleep. And if they stop to take a break, they get whipped. Don't ever let the devil dupe you into thinking that your past is better than your future. You don't know what your future is. Only God holds that. So they're moving. He said, I'll send you to a land that I promised to your fathers. But they're on the Mount of Horeb, Mount Sinai. You know that place? That's where God gave Moses the basic law that we still use today, called the 10 Commandments. And they were there, and they got used to the place, and they built stuff, and they set up stuff, and they doing business, and they're going about their lives, and God said, you've been here too long. You got used to the neighborhood. You don't need a GPS to get here. You can just go, whoo, 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 boom. At my area here, I know this place. My friends are here. I got my business here. My grandkids are here. I am comfortable here. And God says it's time to move. I want you to know that God has been doing this for a while. He said to Abram, Abram, leave your father place. Go where? To a place I'll show you. Go home and tell your wife that. Oh, baby, I want to tell you something. What? So we're moving. Oh, we are? Yes, baby. God said we should move. Really? Yeah. Oh, God bought another house for us somewhere? Where we going to? Northwest D.C.? I don't know. But he said to a place he would show us. You go home and talk like that? Your wife will want to check out your mental health. But he told Abram, move. And Abraham, by faith, moved. And every time you're faithful, God is going to make you fruitful because God can do that. So they're there on the mountain. I want you to see something. The mountain is not just a physical elevation. The mountain is a place of transition. They hadn't gotten to where God said they were going, so they were here. So as comfortable and as nice as it was here, that was not the destination. It was a place of transition. The mountain can represent a place. The mountain can represent an event. It can represent a moment in time. It can be a station in your life. Which mountain are you on right now? Which place are you in? What is God saying? So as you and I consider the movements in our lives, moving from one place to the next, whether it's from high school to college or from elementary school to junior high or from this neighborhood to that neighborhood, think about and remember what God is saying here. I want to show you some things from the text that I believe that if we incorporate it into our mission of movement, we'll be successful because it's God's design. The first thing I want you to know is that God is a promise maker. Somebody say promise maker. The Bible has up to 8,000, if you use the King James Version, up to 8,000 promises that God have made. Or that's promises that were made, not just God, but that were made. About 7,400 of those are actually promises that are made by God to people. God is a promise maker. Somebody say promise maker. He gives his word in the form of a promise, watch this, because he wants to provide instruction and direction. Promises can be a way of giving instruction and direction. But I guess one of the biggest benefits of a promise is that it leaves you hopeful. It leaves you looking forward to something. Am I right about it? A promise assures you. A promise gives you hope. Children never forget promises. I would take you to the ice cream shop on Sunday after church. And then Sunday after church, you don't turn right to go to the ice cream shop. You turn left and go home. And they said, Dad, I thought you said you were taking us to the ice cream shop. When did I say that? Last week, Monday. They never forget. Don't promise them if you're not going to keep your promise. I moved to Liberia, and I haven't been, having not lived there for so long, it takes a whole lot of, getting used to it. It's a whole new culture in the post-war era. I have to keep learning this new environment. Things are a little different now. And one of the things I learned is that when you make promises to people, Not only do they not forget, but it reminds you almost every day. Doc, you say you're going to send me small thing. Small thing in Liberia means I need a little bit of money. Send me a small thing. You say you're going to send something. They'll send it. They tell you Monday. They will text you Tuesday. They'll call you Wednesday. But God is a promise maker. And here's the thing with God. When God makes a promise, you can take it to the bank. He said, get up and leave this place. And let's get going to the next place. Every time we're going through stuff in our lives, remind yourself that God is a promise maker. And then you can go to his word and say, what is God's promise for my situation at this point in my life? There is something in the Bible for every human condition. God is a promise maker. Somebody say promise maker. The second thing I want you to know. God is an adequate provider. Somebody say provider. God is an adequate provider. I broke down one day in the rain in Liberia. I'm going home in the night. It's raining really heavy, and my car started doing some funny stuff, and it broke down. And I'm frustrated, and I'm fortunate I know a few friends in big places, and the police. I say, hey, I'm stuck, can I get help? Send the police, send the tow truck, and all that stuff. And he comes. So these modern cars, they shut down because something was wrong, and as soon as you started, not supposed to drive, it shut down. It shut down. And he come, he like, let's get some tools. You got some tools here? I said, well, only the thing that can jack the car up. And they said, let's go find some tools. They had no tools. And the one I had was not the proper tools. Listen to what I'm saying. Providing for me, for you, is one thing. But that God will be an adequate provider. Meaning he will give you what you need in the time that you need it, because that's what's going to help you the most. Can I help somebody? Sometimes you will ask God for this, and God is going to provide that, because that is what you need in the moment. You can bring me a lot of stuff, but if it's not adequate, it cannot help my situation. If I'm depressed, I need encouragement. If I'm broke, I need a little bit of money. If I'm hungry, I need some food. If you come to give me the finest lecture or tell me the best story and all I need is a burger from McDonald's, you are not providing properly for me. God is an adequate provider. He told him, say, let's go. Leave this place. Let's go. And I'm going with you. Let me show you something else about God. You remember this every time you're thinking transition. You want to move from the mountain of where you are. God is not only an adequate provider, but God is a way maker. Somebody say a way maker. God is a way maker. He opened doors where other people have shut. He shut doors, not because he wants to deny you, but because he wants to redirect you. My time's almost up, but I need to explain this. Because this is where a lot of us, even faithful Christians, would get frustrated because we think the devil's got in our path and God has shut the door. God, I want this job, and how come they don't call me for an interview? He shut the door. God might be saying, I didn't shut that door because I want to deny you. I want to redirect your attention. Look around. There might be a door behind you, and that's where I want you to go, not the one in front of you, because only God knows what's behind the door. It may be a beautiful door, but it might be bad things behind the door, bad people behind the door. God is a way maker. He makes a way. They're chasing the Israelites before they got to Horeb. No lifeguard, no naval vessels. They're complaining, fussing, and cussing at Moses. Moses prayed. God said, we're going to part this thing. We're going to make a way. We're going to make a way. We're going to make a way. And when his people get through, and then the enemy think they can walk into the provision of God, God said, I got news for you. He went until they got in the middle. He knew they couldn't swim. Horses can run, but horses don't swim. He closed the water. How many times have God not made a way? I don't have time to tell you stories when things didn't seem like it was going to work out, and all of a sudden God sent somebody. God did something. How many times have God not shown up in places when it didn't look like anything was possible, and God opened a crack, and the crack became wide enough for you to get through to where he wants you to go? How many times did the doctor say that this stuff don't look good? I'm not sure. And you're standing on your faith, and you know God is a way maker, and you say, makes a way. I had a bone in my throat. The soup was good. Pastor Thomas, very good. I drank the soup, man, to the end. And then this bone stuck in my throat. You know, we got some stuff we do. Old folks just say, well, you get something stuck in your throat bone, you take dry bread, you put it down. You know, old folks had a way. You know, they didn't have money, but they had wisdom. They had wisdom. I tried the dry bread, nothing. I tried some dry rice, nothing. Nine days, the bones in my throat. Went to this OR in Liberia, got uncomfortable. God was leading me. I didn't know it then. I got in the place I was so uncomfortable. I texted the longest text in my life. I texted my wife. I said, this and that, this and that. I got $1 in this bank. I got 50 cents over here. Other than the mattress, you will find this thing. I kept texting. She called me and said, what is going on? I'm sitting on the hospital bed waiting to go in for surgery. I didn't do the surgery. She bought me a ticket. The same day I left the hospital, I got on the flight. My doctor here said, take him straight from the airport to the OR. Or to the emergency. That's what we did. Straight to Winchester. Long story short, 2 surgeons came. And they said, we looked at your CT scan and your x-ray. He said, I've never seen anything like this before. That's surgeon number 1. Surgeon number 2, the lady said, this must be a miracle. I couldn't talk well that time. I said, 3 more days. They did the surgery. He said so many things could have gone wrong. Could have punctured. You could have died. Or damaged this area for good. But God is a way maker. God is a way maker. Number four. Not only is he a way maker, but he is a power broker. Somebody say power broker. You know what power brokers do? They use their power to get things done. He said, listen, he said, go. You will meet the Amorites. The Amorites were good fighters. He said, you're going to defeat them. In the land of Moab, the Moabites were the giants. If God is for you, if God is with you, that move will materialize because God is not only going with you, he's brokering power for you. He is going to get in the enemy's den and he's going to make sure things work out. The devil is strong, but he's not stronger than God. No mountain is higher than the power of God. He's a power broker. All these big deals they do in the big city, the power brokers go behind the door and close the door. Conference room, they talk stuff, and they come out with a big multi-million-dollar announcement. Somebody had the gravitas, somebody had the weight, and they had the power. Well, guess what? God has all power, and he can broker anything for the people of God, for your family, for your schools, for your community, for this church, for this nation. God is a power broker. Somebody say power broker. Here's the last thing I want to show you. He said, God is not only a power broker, but God is a promise keeper. Somebody say promise keeper. God is a promise keeper. Somebody say promise keeper. I told you he's a promise maker. I want to end by telling you he is a promise keeper. I may break my promises sometimes. God will never break his promise anytime. How is that, Dr. B? How is that? How is that? I've been asking God for stuff. Either he's not hearing me, or he doesn't intend to keep his promise on this one. That's the struggle. Watch this as I close. And the strength. The struggle of the believer and the strength for the believer that we will wait on the Lord. Isaiah 40:31 says, for those that wait upon the Lord shall what? Renew their strength. Come on, Jeremiah. Jeremiah had a problem. Israel was suffering. He said, is there no balm in Gilead? You know, they call him the wailing prophet. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there who will heal the wounds of my people? I always say, God, your people, yeah, they're struggling, they're suffering. What's up? Chapter 8, he made a cry. God didn't say a thing. Chapter 9, nothing. 10, 11, 12, nada. 13, zip. 14, 15. Have anybody asked God for something that you know you needed? You felt like you were in the right place and God was able to provide, and you keep asking and you're not seeing anything. You keep asking and you're not seeing anything. I want to help somebody else. I said, I want you to know that just because God is not saying anything, it doesn't mean God is not doing anything. All the way to the end of the book, God speaks. He said, there is a balm in Gilead. And he said, go back to Gilead. That same place that looked dried up, go back. There's water there. That same place that seemed like there was no healing, nothing but hurt, go back. There's healing there. God speaks. God keeps his promises on his time. And so who knows what God is saying to you today? Might be time for a move. Your family, job, your business, with those grandkids, the community, the church. It might be time for a move. And every time God calls you to a new place, he will make sure the next place is better than the last place. And the truth be told, that's hard for us to process because we are flesh and spirit. The flesh said, I know this place. How would we do it over there? We ain't going to start all over. No, God, we ain't doing that. Work with us here. God is saying, you're asking for the latter rain. It's raining over there. Go to where the rain is. God may be calling us to move from the mountain. Are you ready to move? He's a promise keeper. able to make a way for you. Stand as you're able in the presence of God.